Welcome to Flip the Switch with Allie, where satire meets reality. Nobody knows what's going on here, so there you have it. This week we're going to be talking about guns, regulations, gun laws. Are they important? That kind of thing. So first off, I just wanted to say that I do see that people are getting guns way too fast without having enough regulations. But Flip Switch Industries has actually created a product that can go into your body and give a quick analysis of your health and mental state so that you can get your guns even faster. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Flip Switch Industries has done it again, bringing you HSA, Human Surveillance Application. No more waiting at the doctor's office or for that pesky FBI background check for your firearms.
This works a hell of a lot faster than I would. Shit, this is gonna put us out of business.
Our patented nanotechnology floods your body and brings all of the information for your physical and mental health and wellness on an app on your phone. How convenient!
Life's too short to be worrying about ED. I use this on all my boyfriends. Oh, Dr. Miller's information just came in. He's good to go. Come here, Dr. Miller. Granny's gonna shake it for ya.
Get yours today.
I would like to purchase that gun.
You have your HSA report?
I sure do.
Perfect. Here you go, sir.
Thank you.
Flip Switch Industries, as always, bringing the technology we all deserve.
Don't trust this product. It's impeding your rights. It's blasphemy. It's unchristian.
Security, come get this guy.
Don't believe her. Don't believe her. Don't believe this product. It's not fair. It's not right. Keep this out of your body.
Wow, such controversy. I mean, what are they going to come up with next? That lady has like zero morals, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, posted in the comments is the phone number that you can call in. We definitely want to hear from you guys and see what you have to say. But in the meantime, I did want to say something happened in Florida. We had Hurricane Ian. And being that I did just move here from Tampa, where I lived there for 10 years, I do have a lot of friends and family members that are not able to watch the show much. I mean, they're in a state of emergency right now. So not only are they not able to watch the show, they're in a state of emergency. And while we're talking about that, I did want to mention that martial law goes into effect in certain states and states of emergency. And because of that, I think that it is very important for people to be able to have firearms because there are looters and people that are going to want to take advantage of situations like that where people are not in their homes and their windows might be broken or whatnot. And I think it's an excellent way for people to be aware of, the fact that I think it's a good way for people to make others aware that they need to stay off their property and keep their hands to themselves. So what better way to scare off a bad guy than, an AK? And also, while I was doing some research on guns in general, I did come across a really cool documentary on Curiosity Stream, which I have mentioned before, but it is a streaming service that is, I think it's like $20 or $24, something like that, for the entire year. And if you love documentaries, chef's kiss. This is the best streaming service that you could possibly have, and this is not they're not sponsoring me for this. I'm just saying it is awesome. It is cheap. It has like really good documentaries on it. And one of the things that I was looking up was the different kind of guns that we've used throughout history and in wars in particular. And I learned some things about the M16 and the AK. So the AK is a Russian gun. And apparently they made it for people that anybody could use. They knew that they were going to have to turn everyday people into soldiers, and they wanted a gun that was efficient and quick and that anybody could use, which is exactly why the AK is so popular today. because of its efficiency. And in America, at the same time, we ended up using the M16, which ended up not being that great of a choice. And I think it was like 40% of soldiers reported that their M16 did not work during combat because, dirt and grime or whatever would jam the gun up. Meanwhile, the AK definitely gave the Russians like a head up or a leg up in this situation. So I also had an interview and with one of our guests that had commented on a previous show. So I invited him in for an interview. His name is James. I was so happy to be able to talk to him. He initially had, the opinion that guns are a want and not a necessity. So in my argument was that, I believe that in America, guns are a necessity and that we're not necessarily able to look at how other countries have, other countries have strict gun laws and their gun death rates and their gun violence rates are lower. But if you look within America, where we've already had guns protected by our rights, it is our right to bear arms in our country. We are one of 3 countries that protect the right to bear arms in the world. And for that, we already have guns in America. It's not logical to say that we could take them away. So people are always going to have guns in America. So if you have stricter gun laws, you're just going to have more criminals that have guns and less law-abiding citizens that do have them. So if you look at Chicago, the city of Chicago has very strict gun laws, and they also have high crime rates with guns. So when you look at cities like that within the United States, what works outside of the United States, I don't believe would work within the United States. So that kind of sparked a little debate between he and I, and he is a friend of mine that I have so much respect for. So let's go ahead and get into this interview. It is a little bit lengthy, and I will tell you that the full interview is going to be posted separately on the page, so you guys can go ahead and watch that. I think it was an eloquently done interview. And like I said, he is a good friend of mine, and it was respect all across the board. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right. So we have an interview with James. James is opposed to guns. Can you elaborate?
Yes. I look at guns as their only need is to hurt people. And people have a lot of confusion on on the Second Amendment and a lot of things that make you feel like you need guns. And in my opinion, just looking at the stats, they're not necessary.
Okay. So, I guess, so it's fair to say that you believe guns are a want. There is no need for guns in today's society, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, you don't think that people need guns for anything?
No, when the Second Amendment was first written, there was a lot of things going on in that society that no longer can go on today. You had soldiers kicking in doors, claiming eminent domain. Matter of fact, the Third Amendment is the protection of housing soldiers in your home. We didn't have grocery stores like we do today. You had to literally go out and hunt for your food. If you didn't live in a city where there possibly was a butcher or something like that, and you didn't have a farm, if you didn't hunt, you didn't eat. So at the time that the Second Amendment was written, it was a necessity. Those things no longer exist.
That's not true, though.
How so?
Because there are people that live off grid that do hunt for their food. First off, there's definitely people that hunt for their food still to this day.
I agree.
And I mean, actually, me being somebody who eating deer meat for me is one of the only kind of red meats that I really should be eating. So especially being here in Ohio, to me, it's very important that I am able to eat deer meat. And the only way that we could get it is bow hunting, which, doesn't last that long, and guns, to shoot the food, to eat it. You don't like catch a deer.
No, you are correct on that, but I also want to point out that that is kind of an extreme case. Is not the majority of the population does not live in the woods. The majority of the
However,
population lives in cities where there's grocery stores and things to where you can go and get food.
you can. However, like I said, you have to consider the fact that you can't take guns away from a certain group of people, but not others. So if you were to create laws that restricted gun use on Group A, it would also apply to Group B, which would include the people who do hunt for their food. Another thing is, we do have a lot of sports that are involved, with shooting. And although it's a leisure activity, and I understand completely you saying that that's a want, there are many shooting video games. There's many, shooting Olympics like the biathlon, and you have different shooting courses that you go through. So you would also be taking away those people's leisure activities. And then there's also, of course, the military, the police, people, not just the military and police, but people do use guns for protection. Mm-hmm. So, and many people think that for that reason alone, that guns have to be a part of today's society.
To which my response to that is, it doesn't have to be. To your point about the leisurely activities and imposing restrictions on Group A and Group B, you don't have to actually take people's guns away. That has never been a stance of mine. I'm not trying to go into anybody's house and snatch guns out there. If you own, I'm an anime fan, you know this. Mm-hmm. I collect, you and our mutual friend, we collect anime statues. Mm-hmm. That's one of my hobbies, okay? But I didn't recognize that as a want. I don't want somebody coming into my house taking my statues because you don't need them. No, that's not my point. My point is that people put up this absolute need and necessity on something that's not a need and necessity. It's a want. You want guns because you want to protect your family, and that's understandable.
Wouldn't you say that that's a need to protect your family?
But you can protect your family without one.
So if somebody invaded your home with a gun, what would you protect yourself with?
Well, first of all, if you're being realistic, you can protect yourself with a frying pan, a bat. Now, how realistic that is going to work, but I'm not opposed to anybody protecting their home with a gun. What I'm opposed to is people freely walking around with guns and saying that I need to have my gun in the car, walking the street. I need my gun in school. I need my gun here, there. I understand people need to protect their home, their family. Matter of fact, I'm for that. Mm-hmm. I was actually considering buying a gun for myself just recently, even though I'm opposed to it, because I had some situations recently that made me reconsider owning a gun. I still don't like them. I still don't like carrying them. I felt weird the day I held one. But I do also regardless of my feelings, I'm not an unrealistic person.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that does the ease to which somebody can get a gun.
Elaborate, yeah. Let's go there.
The ease to which somebody can get a gun and go out and hurt somebody is, in this country, ridiculous. And a lot of that stuff gets protected by people saying, I need a gun. 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 Mm-hmm. When in reality, if there were stricter gun regulations, you actually wouldn't have the need for one.
So now, although I completely agree that we should have stricter gun policies, I don't feel it should be so easy for people to obtain guns. I believe that there are some mental health, what's the right word for it? I believe that there should be
qualifications.
I believe there should be certain mental health qualifications before obtaining a gun and having a gun license. Although, there's many people who are mentally ill who can fake being perfectly well.
I agree.
But now, one thing that I wanted to say as well, you said that you've considered getting a gun yourself. And the one of the things that kind of stood out the most when I was reading your comment about how you felt about guns is that you say that it's not a need and that it's purely want. But for many people, and the reason why people want to be able to carry their gun in their car and carry their gun on them is because of the simple fact that we cannot take guns away from people in America. I think that that's fair. You and I can agree with that at this point. There's no way that we're going to be able to get rid of guns, correct?
No, because again, like I said, it's the same as trying to take anything else from
Exactly.
people.
You can't. They're going to hide them. They're not going to give them to you if they don't want to.
No, it's unrealistic.
Exactly. Yes.
It's unrealistic to go in to tell somebody they have to give something up. Now,
Exactly.
My thing is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So just with the premise that we can agree on the fact that we're never going to be able to get rid of guns from the citizens of the United States, we also are not going to be able to control really who has the mental capacity and who doesn't have the mental capacity to have a gun until something, proves that they're not of the right mental status. So when it comes down to it, people are going to have access to guns regardless. And one of the reasons why people feel the need to have a gun is because if they are a law-abiding citizen and they are in a grocery store and somebody decides that they're going to come in the grocery store and rob the grocery store, the chances of that the crazy person, the person with a gun, going into the grocery store and harming everybody in the grocery store are pretty good. But if somebody else in that grocery store has a gun and is a law-abiding citizen, there's a good chance that they're going to stop a lot of damage, whether it be damage of life, quality of life, damage of property, whatever. So, if you look at a state like Texas, Texas is, it's Texas. Do we really need to? That's like common knowledge. Texas just loves guns. So, okay, if Texas has less gun murder rates and less crimes, correct? If they have more guns in Texas, by that, what I'm saying is that criminals are not stupid enough to go into a grocery store and try to sit there and hijack the clerk, because chances are there's 10 other people in that grocery store with guns that are going to defend that clerk.
I would say if you're using Texas as an example, that has more to do with the fact that Texas is one of the most, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Their judicial system in Texas is harsh, very harsh. If you get caught with a crime in Texas, they literally have a saying, come on vacation, leave on probation.
Yeah, that's same in Florida too.
Yes, that's I believe that's a lot of the South. But the point is, their judicial system in Texas is hard. So I believe the fact that their crime rate is lower, or gun things is lower, is based on the fact that no one wants to go to jail, in my opinion.
Well,
but to use it to go to your point about people, in those situations, traditionally, people get hurt. A lot of people get hurt. Even the person who had a gun gets hurt. The person who had a gun is going to protect everybody. Traditionally, they get hurt. You are more likely to get hurt in an altercation where somebody is accosting you with a gun, and you have one of your own, and you attempt to get it. You are more likely to die in that situation than you are to help anybody. Those are actual stats. You are like 3 times more likely to die in that situation than you are to actually save anybody. Now, yes, there are.
Where did you get these facts from?
Unfortunately, the internet, but it was an FBI. Trying to think of what year it was. It was an FBI study they did on gun violence, and in situations where people were being robbed and they were gunned down, or they had a gun, they were more likely to get gunned down mainly because the assailant already has their gun drawn. You know what I'm saying? And they attempted. It only takes that to pull the trigger of a gun. You know what I'm saying? And we're all kind of scary.
So I do want to point out as well that although you may have the opportunity to be hurt while you're reaching for your gun, if you are in that situation, if you don't have a gun at all, I can tell you that 100% the chances of you getting hurt are way better.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, they're not as high as you think. You asked me earlier before we went on air, what is something that scares me? Getting shot is what scares me. I was robbed in 2015 at gunpoint. I was driving. I was a delivery driver for Pizza Hut. It was around Christmas time, and I went to delivery, and I didn't do the things that I needed to do to keep myself safe. Walked up on the delivery, guy's acting squirrely. Next thing I know, he has a 22 in my face. He's asking me for the money. I was so scared, looking down the barrel of that gun, that when he asked me for the money, I threw the pizzas on the ground and tried to back away. I know for a fact, because when I threw the pizzas on the ground, he almost shot me. If I had reached for anything else, he'd have shot me in the face. And I wouldn't be here talking to you. I wouldn't have been able to raise my daughter to be 10 years old. So I can tell you from personal experience that even though you are unarmed and it seems like there's no way that this person is going to let you live, criminals are stupid, but they're not idiots, if that makes any sense. They don't want to, they're not going to, it's our armed robbery. That's already 15 years. You kill somebody, that's 25 to life.
So I understand what you're saying. I've actually had a gun pulled on me as well. I was in 4th grade. And it was a shotgun. My whole family was there. It was at our own home. It was a personal situation. And the person who shot the gun had a license for it. It was his gun. He used it for deer hunting. Now, I could let that situation make me feel very afraid, and I was terrified. I went to court afterwards. And I heard the 911 call that I made. I remember thinking that my little brother was dead. I remember how scared I was. However, I grew up around guns, and I was taught how to be safe with guns. I was taught how to handle guns and how to be responsible with guns. My father was very strict about his rules with the guns, where you could point it, where you could not point it, where the safety goes, how often the safety is on, when the only time is that you ever let go of the safety of the gun. He taught me everything that I needed to know to make sure that I could handle that safely. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about gun violence, my question to you is, because it seems very apparent to me that the most important thing to you is the violence part.
Yes.
So what makes you think that, guns are worse than knives? Because if people did not have access to guns, it would be a knives thing. So I don't think that it's necessarily guns. It's that you're really, it seems to me like it's more of the human impact on you. The violence is what it seems like the main focus is here.
The violence for me is, I would say, number one on the list. It's not the only thing. You're right. If you didn't have guns, you'd have knives. But knives have other uses. You cut steak. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
But as we've said earlier, there are instances where you do need guns. And actually, one of the other things that I want to get to as well is, so in the case of martial law coming into effect, so for state emergencies and natural disasters, what would you use to protect yourself against looters and criminals? And I know that we are in Ohio. My dad lives in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And when the floods come in, my dad's house is on stilts. None of his other neighbors' houses are on stilts. All right, so like I said, that is pretty lengthy. The full video is going to be posted on the Flip the Switch page on Facebook. So, and it'll also be on YouTube. So you can go ahead and check that out. I kind of cut it off there because at that point we just go into what I've already talked about earlier about martial law in the case of emergencies. And all in all, it was a great conversation. We did end up pretty much agreeing on the fact that people, the bottom line we agreed on was that people have the right to protect themselves, and they should be able to make the decision to decide how they want to protect themselves, whether it's with a gun, a knife, or whatnot. So, me personally, I will say that I have a disabled child at home that I cannot teach how to use a gun. So my weapon of choice, and I will say this to anybody who's in a position like mine, or if you are afraid of guns and don't feel like you want to learn how to use a gun, my suggestion is, well, I have a baseball bat and I have hornet spray by my bed. So hornet spray is like pepper spray on crack, and it shoots pretty far. So if somebody breaks into my room, I could hit them from the door. I mean, it's not as effective as a gun, but in my case in particular, that is what I do. So another thing that I wanted to bring up is that I feel like mental health has a lot to do with violence. I mean, it seems like it's common sense, but when you think about it, a lot of people are just afraid of guns. They're afraid of the way that they look. They're afraid of the fact that you can kill somebody very quickly with one. But that's not the point of people having guns. And gun enthusiasts not only use guns as protection, but as I mentioned earlier in the interview, they use them in sports. They use them for hunting and things of that nature. And there is a legitimate need for people to have guns. There are people that live off grid that do go hunting. There are people that just enjoy the sport of shooting and hitting a target. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially today in America, where we have the society that we have, and with us having the guns that we have. I honestly believe that mental health is something that we as a society can do a little bit more to, we need to do more about mental health and bring that to attention and help people understand that mental health should be taken just as seriously as any other kind of health. You know, I mean, if you have a broken leg, you're going to go to get it fixed, right? Well, if you have a broken mind, you should feel the same freedom to go and get that fixed as you would your broken leg. And unfortunately, in America, people with mental illness and mental disabilities are looked at like there's something wrong with them. And they're afraid to seek out help. And it shouldn't be that way. A lot of people are made fun of. A lot of kids are bullied in school. And all of that leads to gun violence. And if we didn't have guns, it would be some other sort of violence. Do I need to remind people of Columbine? Columbine High School. The kid made pipe bombs. Okay? I mean, there's a big issue in America when it comes to bullying and mental health. And I think that is the bottom line when it comes to gun violence. I mean, unless you're, who was it that got shot? Was it Dick Cheney that got shot hunting? He did the shoot. He's the one that shot somebody. Yeah, I mean, accidents do happen. But aside from that, accidents can happen in any kind of sporting events. So, you look at it that way as well. But when it comes to the violence part, I do not blame the gun. I blame the mental health issues that we have in America. And I don't really blame people for not wanting to go out and get help, because there's such a stigma around issues that people have. When it comes to things that society sees as normal or not normal, people tend to want to do what society sees as normal, because anything that strays from that obedient line is seen as offensive or irregular or weird. And not everybody's like me. I like being a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? But not everybody can embrace it quite like I can. So what I'm saying is that the stigmas that we create within society have a big effect on people going out and reaching help for certain things. So if you or someone that you know might need a little bit of help, talk to somebody. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and give you a hotline number or anything like that. You can we have the internet. You can ask Google. There's a million different ways that you can go and find the help that you need. And that's one of the things that we need to start doing as a society and as people. There shouldn't be a stigma around health concerns, whether it's an STD or mental health. And I don't know why people act like both of those two things are such topics that shouldn't be talked about or that they're abnormal. I could go into statistics, but go and find them for yourself. I'm just saying, so many more people have these issues than what we even realize and what's reported. And it shouldn't be that way. I think we're all a little crazy. And if we're not, that's no fun, right? So let's go ahead and I want to go ahead and talk about Florida. And before I do, I want to let you guys know, if you want to call in, if you have anything to say about mental health, about guns, gun safety, gun laws, go ahead and call us in. Hold on, I don't have my contacts in. The number is 419-971-4102. That's what I get for not wearing my contacts. Now you all know what my ugly face looks like. So while I'm going to go ahead, and if you guys want to call in. But until then, I am going to go ahead and talk about what happened in Florida. There was a really big Hurricane Ian, that pulled up in Florida. And there is something that you could find on YouTube. I believe it's called Project Phoenix. And it is what they believe would happen if a Cat 4 hurricane ran through Tampa Bay. Now, apparently, a lot of the buildings in Tampa Bay are not made to withstand hurricanes, at least not of a Cat 4. And a hurricane has not hit that area in over 100 years. And people are saying it's about due time. And I was there for Irma, and it passed right over us. And I was in Clearwater, which is the Florida peninsula on it's the peninsula on the peninsula. So I can tell you that I've been through it. We went like 2 weeks without power. It sucked. And with that, we were very, very fortunate that it didn't scoop up into Tampa Bay. This one, again, was headed directly towards Tampa Bay. And if you have the opportunity to look up Project Phoenix on YouTube, I think it's like a 6-minute clip or something like that. And it just goes over what the proposed devastation would be. And I also want to say that if you're not from Florida, you might not understand, but people do not leave. I have several friends that were in mandatory evacuation zones that simply did not leave their house because you can never tell where exactly a hurricane is going to hit, and the chances of it hitting you are probably slim. So people just take their chances, they stay home. And because I was a hospital worker, I have many friends that are also in the hospital, I wanted to explain how that works as well. For the hospital that I worked at, we had a Team A and a Team B. Team A is there while the hurricane is hitting and does not leave until everything is cleared, and then Team B comes in to relieve Team A when everything is cleared. Team A can end up working for 3 days straight or longer, taking turns sleeping in random places in the hospital. And I just want everybody to know that healthcare workers are not paid enough. No matter how much they are paid, they are not paid enough to do that stuff. The gratitude that we could possibly give them would never be enough to do the stuff that they do. And I wanted to go ahead and thank first responders, police, fire, everybody that is out there, rescue squads and whatnot, the National Guard and everybody that pulls together to really help these areas after they've been hit real hard with these hurricanes. Because, I mean, it's horrible. And I don't know if you've seen what's going on yet in Florida, but it's pretty bad. It's mayhem. I know a lot of people have, lost their homes and things of that nature, and a lot of people are without power, and they're going to be without power for a while. A lot of people took their last showers for a while, and that's one of the things that, kind of sucks. But, hey, if you're going to live in Florida, it's just one of the things you have to look forward to, I guess. So, in the meantime, while there's all these emergencies, you do have martial law going on in many states. I know Louisiana is one of them. And just another little snippet, a little gun story for you. So when I think it was Hurricane Isaac, I had taken my son to my dad's house over the summer, and he was going to stay with my dad for a couple months, and over summer. He was going to spend the summer with my dad. And about a week after I dropped him off, this hurricane pulled up and blew right through where my dad was living. And it was right after Hurricane Katrina hit. So after Hurricane Katrina hit and New Orleans levees all broke, they built them up really strong, but the water still had to go somewhere. It didn't go in New Orleans. It went to the surrounding areas, like where my dad lives. My dad sent me a video of my son inside of their house. My dad was building the house at the time, and they were staying in a like a little camper that was outside of the house that they were living in at the time while my dad was building the house. And my dad had to go outside and jack the house up corner by corner while the water was rising. And he told me that there was snakes and ants and all kinds of shit in the water. And he had to jack his house up on cinder blocks to keep it from flooding. And they sent me a video of Reese, my son, sliding down the hallway in water because the water was literally in their camper. And of course, in a state of emergency, you can't get in or out of the state. So I was just stuck looking on from Cleveland in horror as my son was in the middle of this huge storm. And I remember calling my dad, and I said, "Dad, what are you gonna do? It's like flooding. Reese has never been on a boat before." And he said, "Well, I parked the car up on higher water, and I put the canoe in the carport, so I think we're good." Did I mention that my dad is the only guy on the street whose house is on stilts, so he's the only guy on his street, and he stands outside on his patio with a gun when this shit happens to prevent looters from breaking into his neighbor's house. So, yeah. In the same sense, he told me he was going from one canoe to another, and he said that it was dark, and when he jumped into the canoe, he saw a snake in his canoe, and he said he got scared and jumped into the other boat. I said, "Dad, what kind of a snake was it?" He said, "I don't fucking know. It was a snake. I jumped out of the canoe." Anyways, I know I kind of got off subject there for a little bit, but whatever. It's my show. I could do that if I want to. Anyways, let's go ahead and we're going to take a real quick break. We'll go ahead and play the infomercial that we played earlier, and I will be right back. Flip Switch Industries has done it again, bringing you HSA, Human Surveillance Application. No more waiting at the doctor's office or for that pesky FBI background check for your firearms.
This works a hell of a lot faster than I would. Shit, this is gonna put us out of business.
Our patented nanotechnology floods your body and brings all of the information for your physical and mental health and wellness on an app on your phone. How convenient!
Life's too short to be worrying about ED. I use this on all my boyfriends. Oh, Dr. Miller's information just came in. He's good to go. Come here, Dr. Miller. Granny's gonna shake it for ya.
Get yours today.
I would like to purchase that gun.
You have your HSA report?
I sure do.
Perfect. Here you go, sir.
Thank you.
Flip Switch Industries, as always, bringing the technology we all deserve.
Don't trust this product. It's impeding your rights. It's blasphemy. It's unchristian.
Security, come get this guy.
Don't believe her. Don't believe her. Don't believe this product. It's not fair. It's not right. Keep this out of your body.
Do you or a loved one suffer from the inability to stop speaking? Do people cringe at the sound of your voice? Does the beginning of your sentence ever start in the middle of somebody else's? Well, shut the fuck up might be the right thing you're looking for.
Man, shut the fuck up is great. I take it everywhere. I used to be really bad at taking social cues in any situation. Girls wouldn't talk to me, they would just find me annoying. But anytime I'm at a party or any type of social gathering at all, I always have a piece of this bad boy with me. Best thing ever.
Here at Flip Switch Industries, we strive to make the world a better place by fixing people that society doesn't like. Incorrect and unpopular opinions are a thing of the past. Yeah, I tried Shut the Fuck Up. It was horrible. And then I tried to go back and get a refund, and these people were not listening to me. They said that they couldn't give refunds on a free sample. Well, you know what? It violated my rights, okay? It violated my rights, and I have every right to not be offended by telling. Well, I just didn't want to be told to be shut the fuck up, okay? And then I got really mad because they wouldn't let me see a manager, and I brought out my phone and I told them, I said, you know what? You can all be Facebook famous. Is that what you want? Because let me tell you what, they were not listening to me, and what are you doing? What are you doing? What the fuck is this? I bet the boys back in the 1800s wish they had some of this for Sojourner Truth. Who did she think she was, always speaking up about equality? Apparently she thought she was a woman.
We've been married going on 3 years now. It was a little bumpy in the beginning, wasn't it, honey?
Yeah.
We found Shut the Fuck Up and it solved all of our problems. We ain't gotta worry about that no more, do we, dear?
Yep, it sure did save our marriage. I used to have a lot of opinions, and I would speak them out loud, which is really embarrassing for him, you know, for him not to speak for me. So that's just a problem of the past now, though, isn't it, honey?
It's totally in the past, sweetheart. We found Shut the Fuck Up and answered all of our problems. Nothing we gotta worry about anymore, do we, baby?
Nope.
Thanks, Shut the Fuck Up. I didn't tell you could speak. Hey, you got a spare piece of that for me? There we go.
Shut the Fuck Up has reduced domestic violence by 30%, and our patented silencer technology is safe for everyone. Even kids can shut the fuck up. Don't tell my husband this, but when I really need a moment to myself and those kids just won't leave me alone, the kids can get some too. Shut the Fuck Up is sold at fine Walmarts across the United States, and it's cheaper than court costs.
Damn, girl, you looking sexy as hell. It's like an angel fell from heaven.
Hell no, Kyle. Flip Switch Industries, bringing us the technology that we all deserve. All right, well, that was a lovely commercial break. I will say Granny Mildred is my new favorite character. I'm not even going to lie. She's horrible and foul, and those are my favorite characters. She and Pam Poovey, I had greatly enjoyed playing Pam. She was wonderful. So while we're talking about guns, I am going to go ahead and talk about some issues that we have with police and guns, because why not bring that up? One of the things that I will say that ties into this, again, is mental health. While my brother was going through the police academy, I learned a couple of things about different statistics about officers. And one of them is that a police officer is more likely to die by the gun in his own hand than by an assailant's or a criminal's gun. And the reason being is that they have, you know, such a stigma around getting help for mental health that a lot of these guys just become depressed. It's a hard job, and they end up killing themselves. That is unfortunately a reality. You're not going to hear me say that, you know, all cops are bad or anything like that. I do not believe that. But what I will say is that, the saying is one bad apple spoils the bunch. And I am tired of hearing people say, don't let that one bad apple spoil the bunch. Bitch, that's not how the saying goes. Literally, if you do not take the bad apple out of the bunch, it will spoil the rest of the apples. That is why the saying is, don't let the bad apple spoil the bunch, meaning you take it out. Okay? You remove the bad apple from the rest of the apples, and that keeps the other apples good. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and talk about the fact that we do have a ridiculous. This is my opinion, but I believe that we do have a ridiculous amount of people dying at the hands of police that are not properly trained to have the job that they have. If I want to be a hairdresser, I need to go through more hours of school to cut your hair than a police officer needs to graduate from the police academy. So, along with the fact that there's a lack of mental health in the police force, there's also a huge lack of training. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about one incident in particular. I can't remember where it happened, but there was an autistic man, and he had a toy truck, and he escaped from his assisted living facility, and he was sitting in the middle of the road. Now, I understand that people not knowing what's going on with this person, they called, the police because they didn't understand why this person was sitting in the middle of the road. He had a toy truck. Apparently, some people thought maybe it was a gun because they're blind or something. Anyways, the autistic person was an autistic Hispanic man, and his caregiver was a black man. And the black man came and sat next to his patient, and he said, "This is my patient. Please he has autism." He explained what was going on. He said, "This is a truck. Please just give him time and patience." They shot the caregiver. Why? There's no need for that. We see many people that are beat up by the police or shot by the police. And, I have been told my whole life that when you get pulled over, you put your hands on the steering wheel, you let them know where you're going to go in your car before you reach for something, and to make sure that when you get pulled over, that the officer knows that they're safe. Mainly because my dad loves guns and always had guns in the car, and so when his name is pulled, the police already know that he likely has a firearm on him because he has a CCW license. So I was raised to treat the police with the utmost respect because they, could possibly, they have the upper hand. Let's just put it that way. They always have the upper hand. So with that being said, I just don't think that there's enough training that the police have to hold that much power. And I think that there could be many other options, having, people who are specialists in crisis, people who can attend a crisis situation and de-escalate the situation. Because from my own experience with police, sometimes they just are not patient and they have a chip on their shoulder. And for the most part, I kind of don't like that about them. The certain attitude that many of them have, that they are better than others, or that they are in this godlike position, or whatever it is that they think. So for me personally, I just don't think that we're doing enough to make sure that these police officers are trained and have the proper mental health. So I see, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Is that Kaylee Brooks? Kyrie Brooks, sorry, I can't see, guys. So they have the lack of training when it comes to mental health calls. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Yeah, and police deal with more responsibilities outside of their training. I mean, in my opinion, they should have more training to deal with certain situations that they just don't have. I mean, at least not in America. And you can look in other countries. In other countries, you have to go through much more schooling to be a police officer. Um, I can't remember if it's in Finland. They have almost like no police fatalities at all. And in America, they're just skyrocketed. And I don't want to make this about race or color because I am a white person. And like I said, I was raised to just understand that they have the chip on their shoulder and that they have all the power. And then when I learned that black people feel the same way, I was like, okay, this is how everybody feels. Come to find out, no, it's not. There are certain people that have absolutely no fear when it comes to getting pulled over. They're just like, oh, I'm getting pulled over. Let me just pull my wallet out of my pocket. And how you doing, officer? I would love for that interaction. But I just try to avoid police at all costs because I'm not trying to be in that situation. So, I mean, if you guys do want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in. We still have about 6 minutes left. The number is in the comments. If you want to dial in, it's the 614 number at the top of the comment section. And, I mean, like I said, the gun situation that we have in America, along with the police situation that we have in America, the common factor is going to be mental health. The most common factor, the bottom line, is that we need more mental health in America. We need for more people to be able to say, hey, I need help, without other people saying, oh, you need help? That sucks for you. No, I think we all need a little bit of help, especially living in America in today's day and age. I mean, so many of us already have pretty much nothing. We're already working to live and living to work. And everybody's trying to make their money, and everybody's trying to be happy. And it's getting to a point where, so many people are so unhappy that, again, they need to go into mental health and understand that this is something that should be for everybody. More people should be counselors just so that more people can get mental health. And that's just a blatant fact. So James says, I completely agree. They need more training. What I'm saying is that they are, to certain situations, they shouldn't be called to. I agree. Situations to which they are not trained for. And yeah, I completely agree. And it's the stigma behind mental health that we as a society have to break. Absolutely. I completely agree. And like I said, it's not, I mean, there's so many stigmas in general that I think should just not even exist. Because when you look at it, like, let's take a look at STDs just for numbers' sake, because those are numbers that I have off the top of my head being in the field that I was in. 1 out of every 4 people has herpes. That's 25% of the population. I think it's like 80% of sexually active people have a form of human papillomavirus, which causes cervical cancer and genital warts. And that's 80% of sexually active people, and most people don't even know that they have it. But there's such a stigma against it when it's something that is so common. It doesn't make sense. It's like people are saying, I'm too good to have this issue. And it's the same with mental health. You are not too good to have an issue that you shouldn't be able to talk to people about. Everybody has issues. Everybody does. You're not on a pedestal because you have a badge. You're not on a pedestal because you're a doctor. You're not on a pedestal for any kind of reason compared to any other person on this earth. Everybody should get help for their mental health. And I can't stress that enough, no matter who you are. So that's going to wrap up today's show. We're going to see you next week. If you guys have any ideas on things that we should talk about, as it looks right now, I'm saying that we should probably go into stigmas just because it hit my nerve today. I don't like stigmas. I think that everybody should be free to be who they are and be accepted for who they are, with, the exception of like child abusers and people like that. They can go to hell. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. See you next Thursday. Have a good one.